What is going on, Arizona sports fan family? How are we doing out here today on this Thursday? No, I'm sorry, Wednesday morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic Wednesday morning right now. We are here to talk about obviously some Arizona Cardinals. Now, we're gonna take a break from the whole head coaching situation that we're going through right now. Right, we're going through a lot of coaches right now, right? A lot of interviews, and I think right now we're getting information overload. We're going to see how the Arizona Cardinals are going to, get this worked out. Now, if I can give my best guess, I'm only going to assume that the Arizona Cardinals are going to give us the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals by the end of this week. If not this week, then definitely next week we will know the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. So we're going to take a break of the whole, talking about the head coaches, and we're going to talk about some more pressing matters pertaining to our team, right? Deandre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, and also, some Sean Payton stuff that we'll dive into a little later on in the stream as well. But yeah, let's dive right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Big shout out to the people that are currently in the chat. We got the same damn bub. We got King J-Rock, Michael, Hookah. What's up, everybody? Appreciate you guys for being here. Mikey, I see you down there as well. Let's talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's dive right into this conversation. Now, if this is your first time here, definitely do me a huge favor. Smack the like button and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content. We're on the road to 12K. Can't do it without you guys, so definitely subscribe it up and smack that like button. So let's dive right into it, right? A big question that's been kind of reached out to me in my DMs or maybe in the comments of YouTube has been asking me, hey, what's, DeAndre Hopkins' trade value, right? Whenever we're thinking about DeAndre Hopkins being this whole big storyline that we're seeing, which is a topic that I don't like talking about, right? I don't like talking about our number one wide receiver possibly moving on to another team, right? I don't like that at all. I don't want DeAndre Hopkins to leave. He's better on the field with Kyler Murray than he is not on the field. So I don't want to talk about this whole situation. But being that the rumors are getting really, really loud, you kind of have to talk about it, right? Like, what trade value, at least for a fan perspective, what would I want as an Arizona Cardinal fan if DeAndre Hopkins were to be kind of given up, right? Or not given up, but traded away to another team. Like I said, I don't want this. I don't want this at all. And Kyler Murray's better with D-Hop than he is without him. It's just, it's stats. It's actual facts. Just look at the stats. So let's talk about this real quick. Now, I was doing a little research, right? We've seen some big trades go down in the past like 2 or 3 years. We don't have to look very far, right? We can look at the most recent trade from DeAndre Hopkins coming to the Arizona Cardinals in terms of like what the Texans asked from us to receive DeAndre Hopkins. Now, from what we got DeAndre Hopkins for, literally, it did feel like it was highway robbery, right? It felt like it was really, really highway robbery from the Cardinals to the Texans in terms of what we got him for. Now, obviously, we ended up giving them was David Johnson, which at one point, David Johnson was seen to be probably one of the best running backs out there. Now, I'm talking about his rookie year, right? After he got paid and after he got extended, it was an obvious decline, an obvious regression. He didn't run as hard as he used to, and it was very obvious that he just wasn't the same guy, right? He just wasn't the same guy. Now, what did we give up here for DeAndre Hopkins, right? Looking back here in the archives, a second-round pick we gave up, which was the 40th overall, and a 4th-round pick in the 2021 NFL draft. And then the Cardinals obviously received a 4th-rounder back. And then David Johnson is also what we kind of gave them their way as well. So seeing what we got DeAndre Hopkins for, which seemed like basically kibbles and bits at that very moment, we can look at it that way, but honestly, we already kind of debunked the situation that DeAndre Hopkins is him, right? DeAndre Hopkins is probably one of the best wide receivers out there, and he's only kind of getting better. Now, does he have a 6-year window? No, he doesn't, right? DeAndre Hopkins probably has a 3 to 4 year window in terms of elite wide receiver stats and numbers that he's going to give you. So to me, as an Arizona Cardinal fan, we already know what he's done for this 2022 season. Yes, not big flashy numbers, but keep in mind he's missed the first 6 games with the suspension, and he wasn't there for the last 2 games of the season as well. So being that he did put the numbers that he did put up, and not having Kyler Murray in every single game as well that he played, right? So you got to take that into consideration as well. Now, what we got for him definitely was, kibbles and bits. But let's take a look at some other trades that ended up going down, right? AJ Brown and then Marquise Hollywood Brown, which is a player that we ended up getting here on our end. Now, let's talk about AJ Brown real quick because I compare D-Hop to more A.J. Brown, which I obviously think DeAndre Hopkins is better than A.J. Brown, but A.J. Brown is a very, very good wide receiver, and I mean a great wide receiver as well, and he's only getting better and better as he ages as well. So, but what the Eagles ended up, trading for A.J. Brown, looking at the archives here, it says this: the Titans traded Browns to the Eagles for the number 18th and the 101 overall pick in the 2022 draft. And the Titans used that first round pick to get Treylon Burks. And obviously we kind of know, how Treylon Burks has looked so far. Not AJ Brown-esque, but we do know that the Eagles gave up their 18th overall pick, which was a first rounder, and then a 101 overall pick for AJ Brown. So that right there kind of tells me, hey, AJ Brown, DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins to me is better than AJ Brown. Now, no disrespect to AJ Brown. This man is a beast. He's only getting better and better. And I want to make sure I re-emphasize that because he is a very, very, very good wide receiver. I just want to make sure everybody's fully aware that I think DeAndre Hopkins should have more value than an AJ Brown would, right? Now, let's take a look at a trade that we ended up doing as well, which was grabbing Marquise Hollywood Brown this last trade, right? Now, the Arizona Cardinals did end up giving our first round pick, which was sitting at a 23rd overall, which as of right now, it's hindsight, right? A lot of fans are looking at this and being like, that wasn't worth it, right? We should have got our center of the future, right? Tyler Linderbaum was a player that we all kind of wanted as Cardinal fans to start building up our line again. But we ended up going the Marquise Hollywood Brown trade, and we got, so what we gave up was our 23rd overall, which is our first rounder, and then we got Marquise Hollywood Brown and then a third rounder right back, which was the 100th overall pick in that NFL draft as well. So being that we gave up a first rounder, yes, granted, we did get a third rounder back, but DeAndre Hopkins is better than Marquise Hollywood Brown, right? Like Marquise Hollywood Brown is good. I'm not going to put him great, but I think he's definitely serviceable. Maybe a number one wide receiver he can be if he is forced the ball, but DeAndre Hopkins is the number one, and it's no competition. Like, it's no competition at all. What's up, No F's Given? We said Stephon. We'll get to this. I'm going to leave this up right here. We're going to get to this. So DeAndre Hopkins to me is worth the first rounder. I get he's 30 years old, right? And that's one of the biggest things that people are talking about, right? Well, DeAndre Hopkins is old, right? DeAndre Hopkins is still up there. He's up there. Yes, he's 30. And by the time next year starts, he will be 31. I'm fully aware of that. And yes, I think right now he's like the third highest paid, or I know he's top 5 highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Now, the next team that is going to require DeAndre Hopkins' services is going to have to fully be aware that he's probably going to want to get paid more, right? A, I think he's going to want to go to a contending team, and B, he's probably going to want to get more money as well, because that's kind of what he did from the Texans to the Cardinals, from the Cardinals to unknown, right? So to me, as a Cardinal fan, if we were to get a first round pick, that would be an absolute dynamite thing from Monty Ossenfort to do. Like, he really has his work cut out for him, right? He just got this job. Now he needs to figure out if DeAndre Hopkins is staying, is he going, who's going to be the next head coach, who's going to be like, if Kyler Murray doesn't work out, who's going to be the next quarterback, which we'll dive into a little bit later on pertaining to Kyler Murray, because that's been a big topic that people want to talk about for some reason, right? We at least always have 25 to 30% of people saying Kyler Murray is not the future. So we'll dive into that a little later on. So a first rounder for sure. Now, if we did something like the Ravens did to us, right? If we did something like that, like, let's say, for example, like the other side of the coin, like what if we did get a first round pick, but the other team gets obviously DeAndre Hopkins and maybe a fourth rounder? I think the Arizona Cardinals might have to give up another mid-round pick just because of his age. And if that's something the Arizona Cardinals will probably have to, do away with, I would be okay with, as long as we get a first rounder. Now, is it going to be an even trade, right? DeAndre Hopkins for a first round? I think in a perfect world, in a dream scenario, I think that would be ideal for a lot of Arizona Cardinal fans. But to me, I think we might see something like a Hollywood Brown type of trade, right? Where we might have to give another later round pick as well. So like, let's say, for example, we give them to, we trade them out to the Chiefs, right? I'm just going to name a contending team, right? The Chiefs. So we'll go ahead and give DeAndre Hopkins the Chiefs. And then we will get their first round pick, but also they're also going to get like a fourth rounder or a fifth rounder, something like that. But honestly, obviously those fourth and fifth rounders doesn't really matter to the Chiefs because they're always contending, right? Regardless of where they pick in the draft, they're always going to have a very good team. So the value to a team like that doesn't really matter as much for a value like the Arizona Cardinals, which unfortunately we find ourselves picking, in the top 15 a lot more than we would like. So I can see something like that, but a first rounder is definitely in the cards here for the Arizona Cardinals for a DeAndre Hopkins. Definitely in the cards. And if we don't get that, that's a big mistake, number one right there. Now, I do think that Monty Ossenfort will be able to get that value because if you look at DeAndre Hopkins' stats for this year, it's actually pretty shocking to see what he's done, right? Over 700 yards this year. Over 700 yards this year and 3 touchdowns. And that's with missing 8 games and not having Kyler Murray in every single one of those games. Every single one of those games. It's wild. So we'll see, right? We'll see. Now, this question right here, let me get to my guy, my first contribution of the day. He says, Stephon Diggs for DeAndre Hopkins, maybe, question mark. Well, honestly, I think if you ask an average Cardinal fan, I think anybody would be down for this, right? I think anybody would be down for a trade like that. Now, yes, Stephon Diggs was not happy with the way that it all ended off in Buffalo because, dang, Cincinnati gave them a run for their money, right? Cincinnati gave them a run for their money, and Josh Allen didn't look so good, right? Stephon Diggs was reported to look very, very upset, right? Very disgruntled, and not just on reports. We saw it with our eyes that he didn't look very happy. Now, I think we got to be real with ourselves, right? As Cardinal fans, regardless if Stephon Diggs is not happy, right, with the way that it ended, I think he serves a better, he gets a better opportunity to win a Super Bowl with the Bills than he does with the Cardinals, at least as of right now. Now, give us a year or two, right? Then I think we'll be up and rolling, right? I think we'll be hopefully be able to build up our offensive line. We'll know if Kyler Murray is the future or not. And we can kind of go from there. But right now, we're just in a weird situation to, if the Cardinals were to do something like that, right? Like, let's say, for example, we traded, right? DeAndre Hopkins for Stephon Diggs. Like, to us, as Cardinal fans, we're like, yeah, that's a no-brainer, right? Do it. But Stephon Diggs, is he really going to want to come to the Cardinals, right? It's going to be in the same situation, right? So if we were to send him to, let's say, for example, the Bills, I think we would be getting more draft capital more than getting a player, in my opinion. Now, can I be wrong? Yeah, I can definitely be wrong, right? We've seen that before where I was wrong before in my predictions, but that's kind of the way I look at it. I don't think Stephon Diggs is going to want to come to a Cardinal team that's rebuilding, right? And I know, right? It depends, right? If DeAndre Hopkins comes back, it's not so much rebuilding, but retooling. It's as simple as that. But I don't know. I think the Cardinal fan in me would say, yes, I'm down with that. I just don't think it's possible. But I also said it wasn't possible that we're going to get DeAndre Hopkins. And what do you know, right? We got DeAndre Hopkins. So, hey, we'll see. We'll see. What's up, Jose? Thanks for the contribution. He says, I feel like DeAndre Hopkins will stay depending on the head coach. I agree with this. I agree with this 100%. Yes, I 100% agree with this. Great call out. I think that DeAndre Hopkins, there is supposed to be a talk that's supposed to be had with DeAndre Hopkins as well as Monty Ossenfort, and it's supposed to be taking place by this week. If not this week, next week. They're supposed to sit down and talk in what the future of DeAndre Hopkins is, right? That's what's going on. Now, please also keep in mind that if he does decide to stay, it's kind of apparent that D-Hop wants more money. So is he going to force the hand of the Arizona Cardinals to get more money? Is he going to be willing to pay on his current contract? Because, hey, we're trying to, make it to the Super Bowl with D-Hop and maybe the next head coach that we bring in. So there's a lot of factors to kind of come into play here. And we've seen DeAndre Hopkins force his way out of Houston. Now, granted, I think we're a better organization than Houston, right? No shots fired and no shots intended to be fired at Houston. But I do think that we're a better organization and we get a little bit better of a chance than Houston does, at least as of right now. So, We'll see, right? A lot of unknown coming into this offseason. And I think that's kind of the most worrisome part as far as a Cardinal fan right now, right? Like, I think for the most part, most Cardinal fans are going to be watching still, right? Regardless, there's going to be Cardinal fans that are still going to be watching because that's what we do, right? As Cardinal fans, like, that's what we do, right? So we're going to be watching, but there's going to be a lot of unknown heading into this offseason. And Deandre Hopkins is going to be one of the big storylines heading into this offseason. Is he going to get traded? Is he not going to get traded? If he does stay, does he want more money? And that type of thing. So a little concerning. Yes, absolutely. But hopefully Monty Osenfort was brought in here for a reason, and he can definitely work everything out because, boy, we definitely need him to make sure that he works everything out to the best of his ability. Let's just put it that way. All right, let's move over topics here real quick. Let's talk about Kyler Murray real fast. Now, the reason why I'm talking about Kyler Murray now, I want to make sure I put a complete big disclaimer here right now. This is not talking about like, I'm not talking about this because I want to move off of Kyler. I want to make sure I specifically say this up front. Disclaimer, I am not trying to move off of Kyler Murray. No way, Jose. My quarterback, and I think that's the way that it's going to be, right? The reason why I'm allowing some time that's going to be given to a Kyler Murray topic is because I promise you, every single time that we are in a live stream, every single time we have a poll question, there's at least 20 to 25% or 25 to 30% of people saying that Kyler Murray isn't the guy for the Arizona Cardinals, and this is what we should do, right? Regardless if you send me a DM on my socials, put something on the YouTube comments, or maybe even send me a mock draft, right? Send me a mock draft on Twitter, right? Because there's a lot more people that are starting to do that now, which actually I really like. So definitely send those over to me if you do mock drafts on Twitter. Just tag me, and I'll definitely love to take a look to see what you've done. But yeah, it's a big kind of emphasis to talk about, right? Because Kyler Murray, to me, is the franchise quarterback right now. Is there a lot of concerning factors to Kyler Murray? Yes, of course, right? Kyler Murray hasn't been able to stay healthy in an entirety of a regular season, which is very concerning, right? It absolutely is very concerning. Now, Kyler Murray hasn't looked as great as he used to, right? Like this year. Now, granted, yes, he did miss some time as well, right? His stats pertaining to like what he's done in the 2022 season hasn't been very spectacular. It hasn't been very like great. He just had over 2,300 yards. Well, not just over, closer to 2,400 yards with 2,368 yards, passing, 14 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Like, that's not good. Like that's not good at all. So in 2021, he had close to 4,000 yards, right? Throwing. In 2020, he had close to 4,000 yards as well. In 2019, he had close to 4,000 yards as well. But the highest number of the highest number of touchdowns that he's given us by throwing the ball was in 2020 with 26 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. So his QB rating definitely took a hit. I think this is definitely the lowest it has looked so far. Now, granted, in 2019, he was at 87.4. In this year, in 2022, he was at 87.2. So literally it's 0.2 away from his lowest, right? But in 2021, his QB rating was 100.6. In 2020, 94.3. So like I still do believe that Kyler Murray is the future for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, yes, there is a lot of disappointment that is coming from this 2022 season, right? And I'm right there with you, right? As a Cardinal fan, we want greatness, right? We want greatness from our quarterback, especially because we're seeing young quarterbacks like Justin Herbert. We're seeing Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow is looking as nice as they come, right? Now, whether you want to say Josh Allen is a choke artist or not, Josh Allen is a very good quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is a very good quarterback. The AFC is stacked with very young, good-looking quarterbacks. Great, talented young quarterbacks in the AFC. Now, the NFC, right? We got some spottiness, right? We have a lot more veterans here on our side, but Kyler Murray is one of the youngest, flashiest on the NFC side, but he didn't really look so hot. He didn't really look so great in the 2022 season. Now, is this something where Kyler Murray was trying to look really bad because he wanted Cliff gone? I don't know, right? I don't want to go in that rabbit hole. I don't want to go into the conspiracy theories about why Kyler Murray wasn't looking as great as he did. All I know is the offensive line really looked bad, right? There was not very much time for Kyler Murray to do what he's supposed to do, right? Survey, go through his progressions, and get the ball out accurately. I feel like he was completely always under duress. Now, yes, Colt McCoy came in one game and he looked spectacular against a Rams team. Now, granted, the Rams are not as good as we all thought they were going to be this year, including myself. But I mean, we saw what a David Blau looked like, right? We saw what a Colt McCoy looked like. We saw what a Trace McSorley looked like when Kyler Murray was out. And ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest here, right? Let's be honest here. Kyler Murray looked better than all three of them. Trace McSorley, we know, and not great, right? David Blau, for what he's learned in a very quick amount of time, I think he looked pretty decent. Now, sometimes he looked pretty bad. Yes, I agree with that. But Colt McCoy is a backup quarterback, and that's the reason why he is a backup quarterback. So this whole debate of Colt McCoy over Kyler, it should be shut down. Now, if you want a different quarterback, let's give him this year, right? Let's see what he does in the remaining of the time when he comes back, because right now, sometime in October is when we're going to be getting Kyler Murray back. Let's get to these couple super chats that came in. What's up, Hookah? He says, if we move off of D-Hop, it better be for Joey Porter Jr. along with Will Anderson. Draft a late, tall wide receiver in the draft and build. I like that idea. I truly do. Now, if this is the route they go, like let's say, for example, in our very third overall pick, we go Will Anderson, right? If we do that, or Jalen Carter, I think that's an absolute W for the Arizona Cardinals there. Now, if we do get a mid to a late round, first round pick, I think Joey Porter Jr. can very well be there, right? It can, help out the cornerback situation. If not cornerback, then maybe we can get a center, right? Maybe we can get somebody in the offensive lineman, right? So yeah, I think with Deandre Hopkins moving off, I think we can definitely very well get some good value back, but that's key. Number one, like you said, if we get rid of Deandre Hopkins, a number one thing that the Arizona Cardinals needs to do is we need to go after a tall wide receiver to replace him, because who's going to be in our roster, right? Marquise Hollywood-Brown, Rondale Moore. And Greg Dortch right now, he's an unrestricted free agent, I believe. So, he's not certain he's going to be back. Now, do I want him back? Heck yeah, right? At one point, I said Greg Dortch was better than Rondale Moore. And you know how much crap I got from that? But it's the absolute truth. When Rondale Moore is on the field, he produces. He produces. So I appreciate the contribution, brother. Let me get to the next one before we continue this Kyler Murray topic. DeAndre Hopkins isn't leaving. Makes more sense to keep him. Also, hearing tremors that Sean Payton will be our next head coach depending on Thursday, which means DeAndre Hopkins will be staying. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Just like one of our first super chats we got a little earlier, or our contribution we got earlier. Yeah, I agree. I think the head coach that comes in is really going to depend the future of DeAndre Hopkins. Now, this coming Thursday, if Sean Payton does come in and we actually lock him up. Now, this is my plan, ladies and gentlemen. If we bring Sean Payton on Thursday, you lock every single door in that facility. You don't allow him to leave, right? Now, obviously, that I'm being a little facetious. I'm joking there, right? But I think the Arizona Cardinals at least bringing him in and hearing what Sean Payton has to say is a great step, right? It's a great step for the Arizona Cardinals to at least hear what his plan is. Now, the delay in terms of why it took so long for Sean Payton. Now, to me, obviously, I got a little exaggerated, right? I'm always like, oh my God, what's happening? I think the whole situation of getting Monty Osenfort and signing him, I think that definitely put a delay in the situation, right? Now, I know there was other teams also that was requesting his services as well. That also put a delay in his, services in terms of availability as well. So, but looking at the 4 teams that are available, right? The Panthers, at one point I was really worried about. It doesn't seem like they're going that direction. The rumors are saying that they really want to get a veteran coach, but they're leaning towards either Wilkes or Reich. So there's that. You also have the Broncos, which at one point seemed to be a front runner. Doesn't seem like it's a front runner anymore, because I think Sean Payton actually canceled that second interview with them. So that's crazy. The Texans, I'm not worried about the Texans. And then obviously the Cardinals. So we'll see right now, though. We'll see. And we're going to dive into Sean Payton a little later on in the stream. So definitely stay tuned. I appreciate the contribution. No F's given says, keep Dortch, trade more. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Dude, honestly, bro, here's the way I like to look at it. Greg Dortch was great when he was on the field. And a lot of people don't like to admit it, because I know a lot of people grow in attachment to players that we draft in the draft. So like whoever's in a Cardinal uniform, people automatically love. And that's fine, right? That's the way you like. That's cool. To me, I want to put the best 11 people on the field. all the time. And to me, I was one of the first people to say that Greg Dortch was better than Rondale Moore. And then people were like, oh no, Rondale Moore has so much high value, right? So much upside. If you think about it, this whole upside talk that people talk about, they're only talking about that because the Cardinals drafted him in the second round. Like, that's really the only reason why that people are saying that. And then they kind of like to knock on, Greg Dortch's, oh, he's a journeyman. There's a reason why he's not on another team. He just needed to find the right system. That's it. Just needed to find the right system. And with Cliff Kingsbury, it looked like it was working very well. The connection with him and Kyler Murray was looking very good as well. So to me, I think Greg Dortch did a great job in the opportunity that he had. And honestly, I would love to bring him back. Truly. I would truly love to bring back Greg Dortch. But we'll see, right? We'll see how the Cardinals shake out this offseason, which we still have February, and then March is when we have our free agency. So we'll see. But continue to talk about this Kyler Murray topic here. I think there's a lot of people obviously very upset still, right? When they're thinking of the wild card loss in 2021, a lot of people like to blame Kyler, right? A lot of people like to blame Kyler. Now, yes, Kyler did have a very terrible game, but it was everybody. Like, everybody on the Cardinals team shared a blame in that wild card loss, right? Now, we kind of knew, or at least the realistic Cardinal fans knew, regardless if Cliff Kingsbury got an extension or not, if this season didn't turn out good, it's as good as gone for Cliff Kingsbury. And what do we know, right? 4-win season, and it just kind of went upside down, and Cliff ended up getting the boot, right? So we kind of knew that this was going to happen. There was a lot of people that were very skeptical about it because of Bidwell's or the Bidwell family's trends, but I do see Michael Bidwell, and I think that he wants to win. I think he truly wants to win. He sees a lot of the NFC West, rivals within the NFC West division, and every single one of the NFC West teams has gone to the Super Bowl. Let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen. In the last 10 years, every single NFC West team has made it to the Super Bowl, except for our Arizona Cardinals, right? Our Arizona Cardinals, the Seattle Seahawks in 2013, I think they won the Super Bowl in 2013, and they made it to the Super Bowl back again in 2014. Made it to the Super Bowl. The Rams won a Super Bowl ring. The 49ers made it to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Chiefs. So, Michael Bidwell is obviously looking at these things, right? He's looking at these things, and he wants to win. So to me, I think I got to give credit to Michael Bidwell for literally ripping the Band-Aid right off and making this a season or an off season willing to get these fans really excited again. So yes, Kyler Murray's not looking good, right? Or he didn't look good in the 2022 season, but we also got to give the narrative of his offensive line being as bad as it looked. I think he can turn it around. Because Kyler Murray 2020 and 2021, that's what we want, right? That's what we want. Kyler Murray 2020 and 2021 is exactly what we want. Now, would I want him to get more than 26 touchdowns in a year? Absolutely, right? I would love Kyler Murray to get 30 touchdowns. Now, is that attainable this next year? I don't know, right? He's going to be missing at least, 3 games in September? We don't know in October when he's coming back. We don't know, right? We truly don't know. But I'm not going to sit here and say Kyler Murray's not our future because of his injury. He is our future. He's signed up in a contract, but this next year is going to be very telling. And if it doesn't work out for Kyler Murray, the sharks are going to be circling. There's going to be blood in the water, and we'll just have to wait to see how it shakes out, because there's a very, 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 very young quarterback, good-looking quarterback, and I mean quarterback, not, you know what I mean. There's a very awesome-looking quarterback in USC right now in Caleb Williams that's looking very, very nice. So we'll see, right, in the 2024 draft. Let me get to my next contribution here from Trevor Begay. He says, if we trade Hop, hope we can draft a good wide receiver. We won't have the same staff that don't like to develop young players. Could have our own Jamar Chase. Yeah, I mean, well, think about it this way, right? Think about it this way. The Arizona Cardinals right now, if they do trade Deandre Hopkins, they have to get another wide receiver. They have to. Because right now, all we have is Marquise Hollywood-Brown and Rondale Moore, and they're both under 6 feet. Both of them are. Now, Greg Dortch, is he coming back? Is he not coming back? That's the biggest question, right? We don't know. But they're both under 6 feet. You need to get somebody out there. Now, one of the best wide receivers coming into this draft is going to be Quentin Johnston out of TCU. That's probably one of the best wide receivers. Now, is there other people out there, right, that we can possibly target that's over 6 feet? Yeah, absolutely. But one of the biggest coveted best wide receivers that's coming out of this draft is Quentin Johnston. He's 6'4", 215 pounds, 60 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, averaged 17.8 yards a catch. Played in TCU. Now, granted, TCU got blown out, right? He didn't have a very good or at least TCU didn't have a good showing in the championship game, but that's one of the best wide receivers. Now, can we possibly get a Quentin Johnston, right? Or a Quentin Johnston, sorry. If we get a mid to late round pick, maybe, right? Maybe. I don't know. But I see Quentin Johnston going maybe somewhere in the top 12, top 13. So it's going to be really hard to try to pull something like that, right? Either Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, and then get one of the best wide receivers in the draft. It's going to be really telling, but we'll see. Once the combine comes in, I'm excited to see the wide receivers because I think that's going to be biggest key for the Arizona Cardinals if Deandre Hopkins does get traded. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Appreciate the contribution, my guy. Appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, Deandre Hopkins is with us. So every single time I'm doing my mock drafts or every single time I'm doing like my rebuild Cardinals, I'm not putting it like, hey, let's get another wide receiver because we got D-Hop. But if he does get traded, you better bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be trying to scout up some next wide receivers for the Arizona Cardinals to possibly bring in. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Here we go. Whoa. $10 donation from my guy Caleb. What's up, brother? Appreciate the contribution. He says this: the Kingsbury era will linger for years unless we make a statement. Hire, which is Sean Payton. Not promote an offensive or defensive coordinator to head coach. Osenfort needs his first time GM Bidwell. Ooh, this is great. Ooh-wee. I mean, you're pretty right. You're pretty right on the head there, right? So he's saying not promote an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator to head coach. Osenfort needs it as a first-time GM. Bidwell needs it after 4 years of failure. This is as beautifully written as anybody can write it. Honestly, we talked about it in yesterday's stream. I honestly think whoever we bring in as the next head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, if it's not Sean Payton, one of two Arizona Cardinal fans is going to say it's an L. Like, let's say, for example, the Cardinals go Frank Reich, right? Let's say, for example, they go Dan Quinn. Let's say, for example, that they do get an offensive coordinator or DC and elevate them to a head coach. I think half the fan base, or maybe a little less than half, let's say 40% of the fan base, just to kind of play it safe, 40% of the fan base is going to say this is an absolute L. We psyched ourselves up to a level of no return, right? Now, is that the fault of the media? Is that the fans of the fan base? Yeah, it is, right? It is. It's our fault. It is, right? We might have bought into fool's gold, but you're right. You're right. What a huge statement this will make for a first-year GM in Monty Osenfort to do something as big as this, landing a top-tier head coach in Sean Payton, somebody that's going to be able to change the course of the future, change the course of, what's going to happen for the Arizona Cardinals moving forward. You're 100% right. 100% right. The Kingsbury era, I agree. It was a failure. It was. Now, there were some fans that seen it a little earlier than other fans, right? Some fans saw progression. Other fans saw it in year 2. This is not it. This is not going to work. But because we were progressing, we stayed the course and we continued to do it until it actually broke and failed. And it failed really miserably. So this would be a huge win. It absolutely would. Now, as of right now, I think it is getting a little closer, right? I think it's getting a little closer, more attainable to a situation of getting Sean Payton. Because let's talk about this now. Let's move topics over to Sean Payton. Now that you gave that very generous contribution, my guy Caleb, let's move over topics to Sean Payton. Because to me, I think Sean Payton thought that there was going to be a lot more interest right? Now, there was a rumor out there that came out and said, oh, there might be a team that made it into the playoffs that might want Sean Payton's services. All they want to do is get all their ducks in a row. Patience is key. Y'all, I honestly think that whoever is trying to stir anything up, right, stir up the value of Sean Payton is either coming from the Saints or from another team, right? And there was that rumor out there. Now, as of right now, all we know is that there's 4 teams wanting to get Sean Payton's services. There's 4. The Texans, the Cardinals, the Broncos, and the wow, why am I blanking? So let me do that again. The Texans, the Cardinals, the Panthers. There you go. The Panthers and then the Broncos, right? Those are the 4 teams. Those are the 4 teams that have interest in Sean Payton right now. Was there maybe a little bit too much of fool's gold coming from Cardinal fans, right? Is there a little bit too much fool's gold with a lot of people on Twitter, right? A lot of people blowing up the thought of, hey, maybe this can very well be something, right? Right? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Right now, Sean Payton's market is not as great as I think he thought it was going to be. Now, before this whole, situation happened, Sean Payton, or at least the rumor was out there saying that Sean Payton wanted to get an LA job, or he wanted to get the Cowboy job, or the Cardinal job. Those were the 3 teams that were into the whole Sean Payton sweepstakes. Now, obviously, when the season ended, people started firing their coaches and things changed, right? The LA jobs didn't become available. Brandon Staley stayed. Sean McVay came back, and that was a huge win for Arizona Cardinal fans, right? Because I was worried about LA teams. Now, granted, I'm worried about a lot of things, right? So, like, I don't blame you. I'm kind of like that boy that cried wolf. Yeah, I agree. I'm a little dramatic. But the teams that were very, very well in play, or at least seemed to be speculative that Sean Payton wanted to go to, are not there anymore, right? Your Cowboys, doesn't look like they want to move off McCarthy, which I hope they don't. The LA teams, no. The Broncos, I heard that the second interview from the Broncos got canceled. So, like, I think Sean Payton could be a very well possibility here. I think it can very well be a possibility to bring him in to the Arizona Cardinals and be the next head coach. Now, granted, when a lot of people were losing hope, right? Think about it. And last week, there were so many people saying, oh, I don't think this is going to be happening. Who was the one that was keeping hope, ladies and gentlemen? Me and the community here on YouTube was keeping hope that Sean Payton can still be a real possibility. Right now, the market doesn't look as great. Now, can we land Sean Payton? Yes, we can. Do we want to pay what the Saints want to offer? No, we don't. We know that. The Saints need to really come down to the nitty-gritty and say, what can we get, right? What can we get from? Because they're not moving off their coach. He's just going to be under contract. So they need to really sit down and figure it out. Now, Monty Osenfort has a very, very tough task ahead of him. He does. And we'll just have to wait and see how it all shakes out. We truly do. What's up, Caleb? Another contribution from my guy. He says, statement hire is Sean Payton. Smart hire, Quinn and Reich duo. I like that. I like that. And here's the thing, too. When we talked about it yesterday, when we put our poll question up, I said, Sean Payton, Dan Quinn, Flores, or other. Right? That was the poll question. Obviously, Sean Payton got over 50%. It's obvious, right? Sean Payton is going to be the bee's knees and who everybody wants. Dan Quinn got a good amount. Dan Quinn got like 19%. Brian Flores, also 19%. Like 18, 19%. It kind of went back and forth between Flores and Dan Quinn. Other was just kind of at 12%, 13%, kind of fluctuated. But honestly, I think Frank Reich is a very real possibility, or a smart possibility, for, like, how the way you put it. But I think the Panthers are leaning towards Frank Reich. I heard the Panthers really like Frank Reich, but they also do like Wilkes as well. So I love the idea of Frank Reich. Truly, I do. But I think the Panthers might snag him. Now, if you're looking at the Broncos, what we heard, or at least the rumors were saying, Dan Quinn looks very, very good for the Broncos, right? So once we start seeing these other teams start getting their next head coach, right? Because the Colts are still in the running, but nobody's talking about the Colts. The Colts are in their own la la land right now. Like, nobody cares about the Colts. Nobody cares about the Colts right now. They're in la la land. We're not worried about them getting Sean Payton. Sean Payton doesn't want to go to Indianapolis. Like, let's be honest here. So the Colts right now are chilling, right? They're chilling. They're doing their own thing, but they're looking for a head coach as well, which there's rumors that Irsay really likes, their interim head coach. I believe it's Saturday. So we'll see there. But once we start seeing people getting head coaches picking off, right? And Sean Payton is still there. Do you know who that works? You know who that works for? That works for the Arizona Cardinals. Because imagine when the Broncos hire somebody, right? Let's say the Broncos hire Dan Quinn, because per the reports, they really like Dan Quinn, right? He's one of the top candidates out there, right? Let's say, for example, the Panthers, let's say, for example, they go with Frank Reich, right? Because they want a veteran. That's what they're saying, right? And let's say the Texans go with somebody, they throw a Hail Mary out there and they're like, we want to go with this person. D'Amico Ryans, maybe, right? Let's say they go D'Amico Ryans. Let's say they go D'Amico Ryans, because he was one of the only interviews that they ended up giving up, right? Because he canceled our interview. So D'Amico Ryans, it doesn't seem like he wants to be a Cardinal, and that's fine. So let's say that. The Cardinals will be in a perfect position. If everybody gets their head coach and Sean Payton is still sitting there, you know what that tells the Saints? F you. We are not giving you 2 first-round picks. This is what we're willing to give you. If you don't want that, we're going to go with this guy because he's still available and he was one of our tops. Now, it's also playing a game of chicken, right? Like, do you want to take that route? Do you want to be, risking it all? I mean, sometimes you kind of have to, especially if Sean Payton is going to be the coach you want. I just want to start hearing who the Texans are going to get, who the Panthers are going to get, and then the Broncos. Once they fall into place, everything is going to fall into place like a dominoes for the Arizona Cardinals. Then Sean Payton looks so much more attainable because the Saints will lose everything they possibly can. In terms of leverage, they'll lose it. 2 first-round picks? F that. We're not going to pay that. Then we go on our own terms. If they don't want it, we go this route, right? They don't want it, we go this route. Now, is it a risk of losing out on a Dan Quinn, right? Is it a risk of losing out on a Frank Reich? Yes, it's a risk, right? It is. But to me, there's still some offensive coordinators out there that I would love to bring in. Shane Steichen, to me, I'm shocked why the Arizona Cardinals haven't reached out to Shane Steichen. Seriously, like I'm absolutely shocked that the Arizona Cardinals haven't reached out to him. That's a perfect person to bring in because look how good the Eagles are looking with Jalen Hurts. Kyler Murray can be that guy that can benefit from an offense like that. So, like, if it doesn't work out, right? Like, let's say, for example, the Saints still hold on to their guns, right? Shane Steichen, right? I still like Ken Dorsey, but I know his value went down with the whole Josh Allen debacle versus the Buffalo, what am I going to say? The Cincinnati Bengals, right? I think his value went down, and that's fine. I do like Ken Dorsey. I do, but I understand with the whole situation, people are going to compare it to that. Oh, look how bad Josh Allen looked. Josh Allen looked terrible. And you want Ken Dorsey? I mean, I still do think that he worked with very good quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Cam Newton. So Steichen, to me right now, I think can be a wild card that can still make a statement to me. But I mean, we'll see, right? Sean Payton's value, or at least what he thought he was going to, the interest of other teams he thought he was going to get, has completely not been as exciting as we all thought it was going to be. And I'm going to put myself into that as well, because I truly thought it was going to be the Wild Wild West out here for Sean Payton. And that's not the case. That's not the case at all. Sean Payton is still there. Now, is there media trying to hype up Sean Payton? Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%. But I mean, it's just the truth of the nature, right? We'll have to wait and see how it shakes out. What's up, Caleb? He says Reich would focus on Kyler as a offensive coordinator, and Quinn would focus on our fixable defense, especially if we take Anderson at 30. Oh, yo, I can't wait for the 2023 season. Like, truly. We have Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, or defensive line gets better, just like that. Gets better just like that. Oh my God, I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait for this draft. This draft is going to be a focal point, and let's see what Monty Osenfort can do. I am so freaking excited. I don't think you guys understand. But yeah, I agree. I think Frank Reich would be huge, right? But obviously, if he's offered a head coach position, he's probably not going to come as an offensive coordinator. It's just not going to happen. But I do agree, if he doesn't get hired, right, and let's say for example Quinn doesn't get hired as a head coach as well, it's hard for me to say that Quinn's going to leave the Cowboys. But I mean, yeah, I don't know if he'll leave the Cowboys. I think the only way he would actually leave the Cowboys is if he gets a head coach job. So we'll see though. But I love, man. Oh, Will Anderson. Oh my goodness. I would love nothing more than that. Trust me, I would. What's up, No F's Given? He says, life is a risk, carnal. Paco blooded. Oh, Paco blood in and blood out. Oh, I haven't seen that movie in a long time. But you're right, dude. You're right, man. It is a risk, right? Sometimes it's one of those risks that you're willing to take that makes you look real smart. You know what I mean? It's a risk sometimes that makes you look real smart. Now, a very good plan B. And to me, Shane Steichen, being that he hasn't has much interest as I thought he was going to. Now, he does, right? He actually has had a couple teams and a couple interviews. He has. So I'm not going to say he hasn't had interest because he has. But like, the Cardinals can snag him. And I would still be very excited about that. Like, I would still be very excited about that. Jonathan, what's up, brother? $20 donation. What's up, brother? Appreciate the contribution. He says this. Something to think about. If the new GM was speaking truthfully, Kyler Murray might not be the future. Egos will not be tolerated. We are a building team here, not just collecting talent. Just my thoughts. I mean, that's fair. I mean, you're that whole Eagles will not be tolerated. That statement alone made a big statement. It truly did. As Cardinal fans, as people from the outside looking in, the first thing that I heard too, and I'm not going to lie to you, I was on the stream watching it with over 300 people, and we were all listening to the press conference. The moment he said, Eagles will not be tolerated, so many people in the chat said, oh, that was a shot at Kyler. And I was like, because I was like, I'm not going to talk during the stream, y'all. So super chat all you want. I'm not going to talk during the stream. I want to listen. But yeah, that was my reaction itself as well. Oh, 100%. This was exactly my reaction. The thought of the Eagles will not be tolerated, I thought that too. I thought Kyler Murray, I was like, oop. But I was just going to sit there and listen in, right? Now, I get it, right? There's a lot of people out there, including myself, that want to hold on to the hope to think that Kyler Murray still might be the guy, right? There's a lot of people out there that are still holding on to the hope. And I'm one of those guys. I am. Do I not want to be 100? Yeah, of course I don't want to be that guy. But I've seen what Kyler Murray can do in 2020 and 2021. This 2022 season is going to be so pivotal. It is. And I know I say this over and over and over again. And every single stream is the same thing. You're like, Mike, you sound like a broken record. And yes, I agree sometimes. But it's pivotal. It is, right? We're going to see what Kyler Murray can do. That's what's going to come down to. What's Kyler Murray going to be able to do? Because believe it or not, if he misses, let's say he misses 4 games, right? Because 3 games are in September. They said he's going to come back in October. We don't know when in October, if it's beginning, mid, or end. We don't know. But let's just say best case scenario, he missed 4 games, right? Just best case scenario, 4 games. There is still 13 games left on that regular season. That's still a lot of games for Kyler Murray to really wield this team to make it into a playoff push. Now, let's say we go 2-2, right? That's a W, right? That's an absolute huge win for the Arizona Cardinals. We go 2-2, and then Kyler Murray can take us the rest of the way. That's great. But if Kyler Murray doesn't, that's right there where the sharks come out, right? That's exactly right there where the blood is in the water right there. That's exactly where the blood is in the water right there. And I think that's where we have to really sit down and really look back and say, hey, this might not work out, especially if I know Kyler Murray signed into what, like 2027? He's here for a bit, but we might have to really sit back and really look ourselves in the mirror and figure out if this is going to be the reality of how the Cardinals are going to be moving forward. So great. No, that's great, man. Honestly, I appreciate the contribution. Jonathan, thank you so very much. Definitely means the world. Appreciate that. But yeah, let's continue to talk about Sean Payton. Honestly, I think every contribution that was sent in, very good thoughts. Very good thoughts, because you're right. Honestly, this season or this offseason can go any which way. We are in rebuilding, right? Some people might say retooling, especially if D-Hop stays. If D-Hop does go, it can really kind of hinder, right? It can really hinder a situation where we might not want to find ourselves in, but in the realistic, like it's what is where we are, right? If we got rid of Cliff last year, right, we would be in a better situation this year, but it's just not the way the Cardinals did it. So we'll see. Here we go, Chris. Oh, Chris, I haven't seen you in a long time. Chris, what's up, brother? Appreciate you for being here. He says, this sort of reminds me of my last NBA season. I remember being excited for the draft, and then the season after the draft of Sharp and Walker. Yeah, I mean, this is pivotal, y'all. This is. I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to admit it, but this is a big off season for the Arizona Cardinals. It truly is. Let me do a real quick recap real fast. If this is your first time here, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and subscribe it up. We're on the road to 12K. If you like the conversation, if you like hanging out with some more Arizona Cardinal fans, definitely subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, smack the like button. Definitely smack the like button, and obviously subscribe to the Arizona Sports Fan here on YouTube. We're just trying to obviously, continue to build this community up as much as we possibly can. I'm refreshing my Twitter to see if there's any news that has dropped from Arizona Cardinal related news. And as of right now, I'm not seeing anything. Give me 1 second. I am seeing something here. Okay, I am seeing something here on Twitter, ladies and gentlemen, which has to do with Sean Payton. Let's take a look at this. Let me know what you guys think about this here, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is a report coming from Mike Garafolo from the NFL Network. Let's check this out here before I let you guys go, and I appreciate everybody for coming in here. Let's take a look at this real fast. 1 second, everybody. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So this is now I haven't heard this, but I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at this together like a family, darn it. We're going to look at this as a family, darn it. All right, let's make this bigger and let's play it. Let me know if you guys can hear it.
Well, thank you, Ian. I appreciate you, basically tying that up in a nice little bow for me. I agree with you. I don't think he's getting that Denver job. We've kind of been talking all along that there is a possibility, whether it be 50-50 or even greater than 50-50, that Sean Payton would go back to Fox for one more year because he's not like he's that desperate to get back into coaching that he's just going to take any job. It was going to
Okay, let's keep going.
Have to be the right situation on both sides of the table, and it does not feel like that's where we are right now, and we're not hearing that, Ian, and we're hearing consistently it's actually the opposite of that. So he could potentially just go back for another year and then come back and look at it next year and see which jobs are open and if those situations are better for him to jump back into the NFL ranks. So right now, I agree with you, Ian. I think it's definitely more likely than not that Sean Payton goes back and does another year of TV rather than coaching in the NFL, but we'll let you know.
Oh boy, here we go. So we got some inside reporters here coming out basically saying that, see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying right there. That right there, that affects like how the market is coming out right now. It doesn't look so hot. It doesn't look so good for Sean Payton. It doesn't at all. It doesn't look so good for Sean Payton. Now, it's kind of the way you look at it, right? It's the way you look at it. Like my guy earlier said in the contributions, he was saying a big statement would be getting Sean Payton, right? Especially first year Monty Osenfor as the GM, right? Like that's a huge statement for him to bring in a Sean Payton. But if it doesn't work for both sides, right? If it doesn't work for both sides, we might not even see Sean Payton like this next year, like at all. Like that's wild. That's wild. Wow. All right, we got another contribution here coming from No F's Given. He says, if he does that, he's only hurting his value. Oh, 100%. 100%. And not just him, for the Saints. The Saints right now are in the best position to get rid of Sean Payton. Why would there be a report that comes out there that's saying they want 2 first-round picks? We are not giving 2 first-round picks up for a coach. It's not happening. It's not happening. Now, can Monty Osenfor throw a Hail Mary up in the air, right? And still get Sean Payton? Tomorrow is when our interview is. Tomorrow's when our interview is with Sean Payton. It's going to be huge. It's going to be pivotal. It's going to be a big focal point coming in for the future. But if it doesn't work for both sides, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you just kind of need to nip it in the butt and say, hey, maybe it's just not going to work. Because it doesn't look like Sean Payton's coming back to the Saints. It does not look like Sean Payton is coming back to the Saints at all. At all. So it's insane. Insane. The world we're living in right now, right? It's absolutely insane. So I don't think he suspected this. I don't think I suspected this as well. Being that I am as dramatic as a fan as I am, right? I thought that the Denver Broncos, being that they were one of the first ones to interview, but right now, per the report, the video that we just saw, the second interview hasn't been scheduled for Sean Payton. Insane. Insane. This might work out for the Arizona Cardinals, or it might not. This might work out for the Arizona Cardinals, or it might not. Let's see here. We got somebody all on board the Frank Reich train. I mean, I wouldn't mind Frank Reich. I know I would. But keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, whoever we decide to bring in, if it isn't Sean Payton, you're going to hear it, right? But if you're pro Frank Reich, if you're pro Dan Quinn, we're just going to allow this to play out. Like, that's just the way it is. We're going to allow this to play out. What's up, No F's Given? Appreciate the contribution. He says, I think the multiple first-round picks only applies for the Panthers from what I heard on Locked on Saints earlier today. That makes sense. That makes sense. Oh. Because what? Because division? Is that why? Oh. Okay. Now, I know you did a lot of research, my guy. I know you did a lot more research, and I appreciate the videos that you're sending me because it gives me a little bit more insight to hear what a Saints side of it all. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to find a Saints fan and see if I can bring them on this channel and see what the Saints are talking about within their... Oh, that's what I'm going to do. That's a fantastic... Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my best to find the best Saints fan I possibly can, to bring them on this channel for about 10 to 15 minutes to see if we can do an interview to figure out what this value and what they actually want over there, because right now we're only seeing what we want, right? We're only hearing what we want here on our end. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so very much. No F's given. Caleb, what's up, man? He says, hey, Mike, would you trade Michael Thomas if we got Sean Payton? He has contract issues. Restructure he and Hop's contract. So you're saying, hey, Mike, would you trade for Michael Thomas if we got Sean Payton? So, like, if we got Sean Payton, you're saying go back to the Saints and say we want Michael Thomas? It's what you're saying? Well, the whole Michael Thomas situation is weird. It's really, really weird. It's really, really weird. And the biggest reason why I say that is because at one point, Michael Thomas was one of the best wide receivers out there. One of the best wide receivers out there. And it's weird to me that Michael Thomas just fell off. I'm not sure if he loved Drew Brees and it just kind of happened that Drew Brees wasn't there anymore and it just kind of fell off. I don't know. It's really weird. If Michael Thomas isn't working the way that he used to, I don't want him. I truly don't. Now, I don't have any insight on Michael Thomas. If he can be that same Michael Thomas that he was with Drew Brees, then I would love him. But a lot of people were saying on him, he was just a slant machine. All he did was slants. Like that's how he got his name, right? Because he was that good at doing what he did in slants. But I don't know. Like, that's kind of a tough question because I don't know what happened to Michael Thomas. He literally just fell off. Injuries. And it kind of felt like he just didn't want to play anymore. And I don't know if I want that type of wide receiver in our locker room. We got over 190 people in here right now, y'all. Thank you so very much for being here, by the way. If you guys can do me a huge favor, can you smack the like button on this video if you guys haven't already, and subscribe if you're a Cardinal fan. Now, if you're anything else but a Cardinal fan, but like this type of content, if you want to hear me cry, hear me talk about what's going on, definitely subscribe it up and join the community. It's free. Over 190 people in the stream right now. Let's freaking go. Thank you so very much. I guess to recap, we talked about Kyler Murray earlier. We talked about DeAndre Hopkins and what I want his value to be if we do trade off of him. So if you want to watch the playback, you can definitely do so. Now, Sean Payton is what we're kind of staying on right now with the topic of Sean Payton, just because a lot of unknown, right? A lot of unknown coming in from Sean Payton and what his true value is. No F's given. What's up? He said also Broncos are leaning towards a college head coach. Really? The last I heard from the Broncos is that one of their top candidates was going to be Dan Quinn. One of their top candidates. Now maybe not end all be all, right? But that's interesting. That's interesting. I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much for all the contributions. Definitely means the world. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? We'll see a lot of big, juicy storylines in this offseason for the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of big, juicy storylines for the Arizona Cardinals this offseason. You call Trevor Lawrence a franchise quarterback, but look what he looked like under Urban Meyer. I think he might be talking to somebody else in the chat, but it's okay. I'll let you guys have your conversations. That's why I only focus on Super Chats, because I don't want to get into people's conversations. Okay. All right, let me do a real quick refresh in the Twitter world here of the Arizona Cardinals. But like we were saying a little earlier, right? It only helps out the Arizona Cardinals. It only affects the Arizona Cardinals, truly. Truly. The Cardinals right now are going to meet with them tomorrow. And it's wild to me that nobody set up a second interview with them. Nobody did. The Panthers, no. Panthers didn't. The Broncos, no. The Texans, no. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be wild, y'all. It's going to be a wild offseason. I think there's still a lot to kind of unfold within this offseason for the Arizona Cardinals here, y'all. Perfect. Well, thank you guys. We have hit the hour mark, ladies and gentlemen. This has actually been a fun stream. It truly has been. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is exactly what we love to do. Talk everything Arizona Cardinals and what's going on within the NFL, because this is what it's about, right? Our next head coach is a huge, huge storyline within this next couple weeks. I'm only assuming by the end of this week, we're going to find out who our next head coach is. If not this week, then the beginning of next week. But I'm leading to a prediction that by the end of this week, we're going to know. Fingers crossed. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you guys haven't done so already, please do me a huge favor. Smack the like button on this video. Helps out the algorithm. Helps out that lonely Arizona Cardinal fan out there that's looking out there for a community, right? That's looking for somebody to come here and be like, hey, I feel lonely, right? I'm a Cardinal fan and I live in Wisconsin. Right? Let's just name a city out there. This is where they can be, where we can talk everything Arizona Cardinals. So definitely smack the like button. Subscribe it up. We're on the road to 12K. Let me get to my last contribution here of the day. He says, Bidwell needs his Robert Sarver moment. I love that. Bidwell needs his Robert Sarver moment. Well, honestly, Caleb, I kid you not, if he didn't fire Cliff and Kime this year, we were really thinking about getting a private investigator on the Bidwells to see if we can dig up some dirt, but that's not necessary anymore. We don't need to do that anymore. So we'll see how Bidwell does without having Steve Kime, chirping in his ear. This is the first time we're going to see how Michael Bidwell does. So I'm excited. So everybody, appreciate you guys for coming through. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to everybody. As always, have a great rest of your day and go Cards.